But now I find myself back. Of course, our kids are all grown up and fledged, but now I have grandchildren. I have 2 grandchildren, soon to be 4 and 1. Great age, wonderful thing. But as I finish my career as the Environmental Commissioner of Ontario, I think about, what do my grandchildren face? That's what this is all about. What do my grandchildren? It's easy for me. I'm finished. I can retire. I can go back up north. I can go to my cottage and put my feet up. But no, I don't want to do that, because what will my grandchildren face? And I look out there and I see a Canada led by Stephen Harper that is seriously off track. Yes. They promised us that they were going to unite the right. What they did is unite the wrong. They're wrong. They're wrong about climate change. They're worried. It's an international embarrassment. Apparently Harper signed on to something today. We'll see what it turns out to be. But it's an international embarrassment that Canada is holding up climate change progress, even when countries like China and the United States were on board. It is ridiculous. They're wrong about climate change. They're wrong about Canada's economy, tying it so close to the extraction of bitumen. I mean, everything's about bitumen, and everything has been with Harper for the last 10 years, and look where it's getting us: nowhere, because the international community is pulling out of the tar sands, or the oil sands. Can't call them that anymore, even though I was educated and they were always the out the bath of tar sands. The oil sands are in retreat because we can't burn that carbon. It is unburnable carbon. It is the most expensive carbon in the world, the most expensive fossil fuel. It will not be burnt. And you know what? There will not be pipelines, because nobody will put the money up for those pipelines, because that is not going to be a development. And we tied our economy to that, and we're paying the price for that. It's hurt our manufacturing. I mean, we're in Guelph. It's a manufacturing-based economy, one of the large, of course, the university education. But Linamar is the biggest employer in Guelph, and that's a manufacturing business. We still have some manufacturing here, despite the policies of the federal government. We need to refocus and change and get off the bitumen bandwagon. They were wrong because they silenced our scientists and silenced our statisticians, and they took away the fact base for making decision-making. To make the proper decisions in this confusing future we face, we need information, and they're silencing the people and eliminating the scientific organizations and denying the public, everybody, the information we need to make decisions in this challenging time. And look what they're doing to Parliament. Elizabeth is going to be here. She knows better than I what they're doing to Parliament. But the Parliament of Canada has been terribly impacted by the Harper government with their omnibus bills, where they're silencing any opposition. And what about our civil liberties? This government has put C-51 on the table. C-51 contains, amongst other things, it's actually 5 bills, by the way. It's an omnibus bill. It contains 5 different pieces of legislation. And amongst other things, it actually allows the security services to suspend the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. What is going on in this country? We didn't vote for that. I don't remember that being in the Conservative platform. This is just where they're taking us, and they're wrong. And the opposition parties are not much better. I mean, well, they're just as misguided and off track and out of touch with reality. Mr. Trudeau voted for C-51. What's that about? You're either for it or you're against it. Mr. Trudeau is in support of the Koch brothers pipelines, the Keystone pipelines, which would take our bitumen and take it down. Won't be built anyway, but just the gesture, the fact that instead of he would support taking the bitumen out of Canada and send it down to all people, the Koch brothers, who are international pariahs about climate change. Now we need to not focus on oil and bitumen and that economy. That economy is ending. We're entering the post-carbon era. And we have to start rebuilding our economy in renewable energy and energy efficiency, and a whole bunch of different ways of organizing the community, like Guelph is already doing. Yes. Guelph is one of the communities in this country, and that's one of the reasons that I'm running here. It's one of the reasons the Green Party has picked Guelph as a place to put our focused effort, because this is a community that gets it. This is a community that votes green and substantively, we have a substantive base here, and so this is a place where we want to start a new vision for Canada. And now, we sense the frustrations of Canadians. It's an interesting time. If you looked at the polls today, we've got polls, we've got the three major parties, and nobody's winning. It's sort of like this nomination, none of the above. That's how people are looking at the three major parties, are saying none of the above. We're not giving any of them a leadership. We don't know which one's ahead. All we know is none of them are winning, and we're going to go into minority parliament. And in a minority parliament, if you have some strong Green MPs, we can have substantive influence beyond our numbers. Clearly, it's a time for the Green Party. Clearly, this is our opportunity. We're the only party that actually faces reality in the world. We're the only party that gets climate change. You know, we're the only party that realizes that you need good environmental approvals rules to get approvals. That's why they're there, to make the right decision and get an approval. Mr. Harper eliminated the legislation of the Navigable Waters Act, the Fisheries Act. He destroyed the approvals process. And did he get any approvals? No. Because the environmental rules are there so that you can find a way forward to a decision that is environmentally suitable. He doesn't even know that that's what they're for, and he's so focused in anti-environment. But the Greens have economic principles that have been tried in other jurisdictions and proven. There is no question. We have been demonstrated around the world that we can build economies that are more resilient, more diversified, with localized value chains, not importing everything from China through Walmart. There's better ways to do that. Again, Guelph is a place that shines in that regard. But the key things is we can provide goods and services in this country which employ Canadians and make us competitive in the world community. We can do that like Guelph does. I read in the Mercury that Guelph has almost 2,000 jobs tied to alternative energy services in this community. I mean, that's remarkable. It's been noted national-wide. Everybody's saying, what's going on in Guelph? Well, Guelph gets it. Guelph gets it. Guelph is a sense of this new green economy. That's why we're focused here. That's why I want to build here, because we've got this strong base. We understand in Guelph that good environmental standards and high energy efficiency makes you competitive. That's what good business is about. We'll never beat the Chinese on labor costs. My gosh. Their labor costs are so low, it's practically slave labor. We have to beat them because we're more efficient, we're energy efficient, we're smarter, we're creating new technologies, we're getting more value of the energy that we utilize and expend. That's the only way forward, that's the way to competitive, and that's our opportunity. We've got to steer the country back in that direction. We can't go chasing bitumen down the road to bankruptcy, and that's where we're going. But I'll tell you, in order to do that, we have to, if we're going to have a small caucus, and by the way, you know, a small caucus, there's two Green MPs, of course, now, and, you know, people say, oh, you only two Green MPs. In 1997, I ran for Jean Charest as a progressive conservative, you know that word progressive that doesn't exist on the Conservative Party anymore. Well, Jean Charest, and we had 2 members of MPs. After that election, we had 20 members as MPs. So that's running against the reform, when the reform at their greatest strength. So and then of course they sold us out down the road, wasn't Charest, with that Peter MacKay. But that thing saying the change can come and you can have a substantive caucus. What the key is to have effective MPs that understand how Parliament works, MPs that can speak loudly and with conviction and know what has to be done. And I'm going to say I'm up here running against none of the above. So I'm going to have to tout my own horn a little bit. I'm going to tell you that you want an MP, one part of the job of an MP is to be in the constituency and deal with people's problems dealing with government. I was in a bureaucracy for 14 years. I know all the tricks, right? I always say I don't speak French, but I'm bilingual. I speak English and bureaucraties, right? I know how to get around these guys. Because after 14 years as a bureaucrat, I went for 15 years as the environmental watchdog, a parliamentary watchdog at Queen's Park. And then my job was to call them out, identify the problems, find out from an environmental main, from energy efficiency, what are you doing wrong? What are you trying to pull? Where are you cutting the budgets? and to tell the truth and to focus on them and to chase them down. And I was that watchdog, and I suggest to you that I was that watchdog through 5 speakers, 4 premiers. I've been on the floor of the Legislative Assembly. I've been there, you know, I've been testified before their committees. I've been quoted extensively in the Hansard and by all parties trying to make points on the environment. And those are all good things. The point is, I am one of the people who understands Parliament. And that's what Elizabeth May needs. She needs other people, other lieutenants there who can go up and understand how Parliament works, how the committee structure works, how to read legislation, understand legislation, see what tricks they're trying to pull, and get on top of these things before they're happening. And I hold you that I'm the guy that has to go back up and help Elizabeth May. I think that it's not an amateur game in an election. This is the time when we need to elect some pros. I want Guelph to send me to the Parliament of Canada so that we can help Elizabeth May be successful. You know, Elizabeth is there, Bruce Heyer is there. Bruce Heyer is the Green member from Thunder Bay. But we've got I want to be there. We've got Daniel Green, a prominent environmentalist in Quebec, very, very well known, running in Montreal. We've got Claire Martin, which everybody loves Claire Martin, in Vancouver. And we've got good local candidates in Southern Ontario. We've got candidates right across this country. We have a fine selection. We are a serious party. 81, it says in the paper, 81% want Elizabeth May in the debates, whether or not Harper shows up. I like that one. But we are going to bring a clear voice to the next Parliament. The Harper era, take it from me, is already over. It's already over. He just doesn't realize it yet. But on October 19th, he may die on it, okay? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go to Ottawa. We're going to rebuild this nation, get it going back on the right track. But I can't do that alone. Elizabeth can't do it alone. Running an election requires a team, requires the people in the community. In fact, the candidate is just the visible part of the machinery. You know, when you win an election in a riding, it's because the people in the riding got together and said, we want to win this election. We want a candidate. So you find somebody that's a good talker and pretty good looking. Well, maybe good talker. Anyway, you find somebody like that and you put them up there, and the team has to get behind them, because that's how you win an election. It's an expression. I will work hard for you, but I need some people to volunteer in my campaign. And I think right on your chairs tonight there are volunteer sheets. And that's what's required. We need to pull the team together. Tomorrow, assuming I win this nomination against none of the above, tomorrow morning I'm going to start campaigning. Tomorrow morning things begin. We won't go 100% till, but I'll tell you, by mid-August, this train is going to be on full steam and pouring down 24/7, and we're going to go all the way to October 19th. We're not pulling back. I've run before. I know how to run an election, but I need some volunteers. I need some help. I need the people of this riding to sign up on the sheet and get behind this campaign so that we can get elected, and then we can give a real clear voice to Ottawa for the riding of Guelph. And joining with Elizabeth May, we're going to make some real change for Canada. Thank you very much.